Ladies and gentlemen, we saw a weekly chart RSI breakdown, and that is not good news, okay? Weekly chart RSI is very, very important. I'm going to explain it in the introduction so I don't have to waste your time in the video. Weekly chart RSI has been, exceptionally important in the past. We've got descending resistance lines in the weekly chart RSI that have led to the start of bull markets, the end of bear markets, right? This one right here, the start of a bull market, end of the COVID drop, the end of a bear market here, start of a new bull market, the end of a 7-month consolidation on this break, start of a new bull market, right? The weekly chart RSI, very, very important. Breaking down from this line from 2018 led to the end of a dead cat bounce and the fresh leg downwards to 15K and the end of the bear market. So we know the weekly chart RSI is important. And we've come downwards and we've had this triangular pattern on the weekly chart RSI. We've broken to the downside, we've closed below it. And now the situation is, well, does that mean we're going downwards? And unfortunately, even though the weekly chart RSI is important, the weekly chart RSI breaking down here is actually adding to the uncertainty, because even within the breakdown of the weekly chart RSI, we have formed a new pattern on the weekly chart RSI, a descending wedge formation on the weekly chart RSI. So the breakdown that we thought would give us a lot of clarity actually has added to the uncertainty, because now we have to think, well, does that breakdown matter? Or does this pattern here, this descending wedge formation, matter more? We're going to discuss that today. And we're also going to look into the astounding lack of evidence for a 74K top at the time that it occurred. And if we were to have actually seen the top at 74K, it would be entirely unpredictable. We've got 3 points of evidence that potentially indicated a 74K top, and all of them I can debunk to a relatively high extent. So we're going to look into the weekly chart RSI, look into the short term, and we're going to look into the macroeconomy a bit, and we'll look into the actual evidence and the lack of evidence for a 74K top. Not necessarily meaning that we can't have topped at 74K, but just showing you that if we did, you shouldn't really be kicking yourself too hard because it was ridiculously unpredictable. So look into all of that today, guys. Before we get into it, Bingx and Bitunix, the two exchanges I advertise on this YouTube channel, both have my 15% trading fee discounts down below. If you sign up with those links, you'll get a 15% trading fee discount for life. I handpicked these exchanges. I use them both personally. I picked them because they have never been hacked before, historically very safe. I picked them also because they're both global non-KYC. Okay, so you can sign up from anywhere in the world. And the last thing is they're very low in trading fees, especially with my referral fee discount. So check out my links down below and sign up. Let's get into the content. We'll start with the weekly chart RSI. We've discussed it quite a bit already, but I just want to recap a little bit. So very important on the weekly chart RSI. We had a triangular formation here. We were expecting a move within the month of September. It is September. We did see that move. It moved for downside. Now, even if we're taking this line at face value and saying it is perfectly valid, we still shouldn't be making decisions about buying or selling based on an RSI. We should be waiting for the price chart. And we know very clearly, right, as I've been saying over and over again, that there are, these yellow lines and the channel formation itself. For me to be confident in a bear market, all of these will need to break, right? I actually added in this line right here. I'll make it pink so you can see it earlier today. I think 47K would probably need to break as well, but realistically, if we break these upper three ones, 47K probably will break. So overall, let's just delete 47K for now, but we're probably going to bring it back later on in future videos. If all these lines break, you can pretty much say with a high degree of confidence that the bear market is in play and Bitcoin's in very big trouble if they break on high time frames, that is. Right, let's add in 47K for now because that is realistically the neckline. So if all of these break, it's run for the hills, get the hell out. There's no coming back from that from a charting perspective. And if there was coming back from that, it would be as unpredictable as the 74K top. I mean, ridiculous. But look, this is what I'm saying. The RSI is not where you should be making decisions based on. The price chart is. And given the fact we've seen an RSI breakdown, that alone, even if we're taking it at face value, would not be enough to justify any sort of major macro decision you would make personally with your finances, in my view. But even, with all of this said, there actually is an added layer of uncertainty, an added layer of complexity that is, forcing you kind of to remain vigilant and calm, realistically. And that is the possibility that this weekly chart RSI breakdown was not actually a breakdown, but a wick downwards to form a new structure, a bullish structure, which is a descending wedge formation. And why does this hold relevance? Well, first and foremost, it is a very valid wedge with 3 retests for downside and 4 to the upside. And second of all, Bitcoin is known to match the Ethereum price action, and Ethereum on the weekly chart RSI has a descending wedge as well. So perhaps we're copying Ethereum. So perhaps this thing that we thought would be bearish, right, this weekly chart RSI breakdown, is actually not. right? Perhaps we are just copying what Ethereum is doing, and this is a bullish thing. And there would have been no way to know that until the candle closed right where it did. But the fact that it closed right where it did does actually give me a little bit of hope, to be honest. Even though we've seen this breakdown, I'm actually feeling, I'm not going to say I'm feeling better than I did yesterday, but I'm not feeling as bad as I thought I would be feeling if the weekly chart did break down, because now we've just got a new bullish structure here. So I'm going to leave both the lines up. But I can tell you this right now. It doesn't change the importance of the weekly chart RSI. And if we do break down from the wedge itself, I mean, then you can be quite sure this is big trouble. But right now, seeing as we're on that wedge and we closed right on top of it, I can't really sit here and say it's the most bearish close ever, especially considering nothing really changed on the price chart. In fact, if we look at the price chart and we look at these important yellow lines, these two yellow lines being the same yellow lines in this longer term chart here, you'll see that they're not really in. I mean, one of them is in trouble, but if we zoom into the short term, you can see we're actually in the process of potentially flipping it back to the upside right now with a 4-hourly chart RSI breakout and potentially coming up to retest to break this pink line as well. And if we do that, that's great news. So I don't think there's any clarity here in short term, but I certainly don't think the short term looks absolutely terrible right now. I think there actually is a pretty big chance that we flip back above this yellow line and get back above what we lost. So, unfortunately, the clarity we thought would come from that weekly chart RSI did not come. It just added another time bomb on the weekly chart RSI, which is now this descending wedge formation. The good news is that descending wedge formation will be reaching an apex, within 2 weeks. So actually, our time frame for an estimated breakout and movement on the price chart within September does not change. It just, we just get an illusion of change, but there's really no change there. Right, so moving on, right? If that was the top, and this is a separate topic, an entirely separate topic, but I just want to discuss it because now that we've broken down from that weekly chart RSI line, and now that we've started testing the bottom of these support zones on macro, a lot of people are getting very concerned, including myself, by the way. I'm not sitting here stress-free. I mean, this is a pretty stressful scenario to be in. But of course, I'm not in altcoins at all, and I'm barely in Bitcoin right now, and I've made my opinions on that very clear. I don't really see the point in buying here. I think realistically waiting for upwards confirmation is the way to go. So I'm not stressed for my positions. I'm just stressed for the market as a whole. But a lot of people are stressing and they're flipping bearish. And look, my problem with that, I suppose, is, the bearishness would come from the macro economy. Because, if we did enter a bear market here, it would come from the macro economy doing something unexpected. All of the cyclical trends right now, 4-year cycle, 18.6-year real estate economic cycle, presidential cycle, all of those trends that have been around for decades, okay, and in the case of the 4-year cycle, a decade, and establishing the entire basis of cryptocurrency price action, literally, all of those trends are still valid, and they predict a top in October 2025 or late 2025. So we'd have to break all those trends. Now, that's not impossible, but the only way we could break those trends would be due to the macro economy, which we still have uncertainty on. We'll get more clarity about in 9 days. But what I'm saying is this, right? In March, when we hit 74K, there really was not much telling us at the time that that was the top, right? So if the top actually was 74K, we would be blindsided by it, right? So I want to justify this. And, perhaps this isn't really relevant to anything, but I just want to clear up these things because I'm getting a lot of comments saying, you should have trusted the 2-week chart. You should have trusted the 2-month RSI. The 2-month doji candle. I just want to clarify this here. There really was nothing concrete telling us the top was at 74K. The 2-week RSI has this descending resistance line, which has marked tops in the past and looks like it's very good at marking tops and looks like it potentially marked the top in March 2024. But then we realize, well, if we flip to the monthly chart, okay, which is a chart that's looked at much more than the 2-week chart, we have an identical resistance line on the RSI, if I drew it perfectly, identical resistance line on the RSI, which did not mark a top, in March. So, which is it? Are we going to trust the 2-week chart? Are we going to trust the monthly chart? Because both of them say conflicting things. There's no real clarity there, and it's both using the same RSI with the same descending resistance line. But the difference is the monthly chart RSI has actually predicted bottoms as well. So if anything, the monthly chart is more important, and that didn't reach a top either. So that's an irrelevant argument for saying the top was marked by the 2-week chart. We move into the 2-month doji candle chart. We see, this is the doji candle people were talking about. They were saying this bearish doji candle marked the top of the entire market. I mean, if you think that a candle close, a candlestick formation can mark a cyclical top, not only for Bitcoin, but for traditional markets as a whole, first and foremost, you need to study up on TA. Second of all, historically speaking, candles on the 2-month chart have been incredibly inaccurate. In fact, doji candles in particular have been the opposite of accurate. They've been reverse correlated to what generally happens. We had a doji candle right here. We went further down into a bear market. Okay, we had a bullish hammer right here. We went downwards with a bearish engulfing right after it. We had a bearish engulfing right here. We went downwards, upwards with a bullish engulfing right after it. Right, this is two separate doji candles that did not mark the bottom. Right, and we saw bearish engulfings after seeing them. Bearish engulfing right here did not continue downwards. So there's many examples I can give you. We can go back further. Bullish doji should mark a bottom. It didn't. We went downwards. We actually saw the COVID drop after it. So I'm just saying, historically speaking, if you're buying into this 2-month candle, marked at the bottom or marked the top here in March, you need to look at the 2-month chart and you need to assess the accuracy of the 2-month candles as a whole. This is a very abstract chart to be making a decision based on. And a candle close, even if it was on a less abstract chart, is a very abstract thing to be basing a cyclical top prediction based on. What evidence do you have other than this? Nothing. If this is your only point of evidence, I mean, what are we talking about here? The only thing I can see that potentially could have marked a top at 74K in March is the power law chart. This is the only thing I can see. And I actually discussed it at the time. I didn't discuss it as something we'd see a top from, but I discussed it as something we would reject from and see a correction from. Now, we've been seeing that so far. So far, there's been correct. It's the green line right here, perfectly marked 74K. But the reason why I said that wasn't a top is because that's not the top line. The top line's here in purple. Now, in 2021, we didn't reach the top line. But that's not really a reason to think the green line would be a cyclical top line this time, especially considering in 2021, even though we didn't reach the top line in purple, we still maintained the 4-year cycle with a November 2021 top, followed by a December 2022 bottom, which was the 4-year cycle again. So the only chart I really see in existence on Bitcoin, and I've looked through everything really, that has any degree of real defendability and validity is the power law chart that marked the top in March 2024. But even then, I don't think that was justifiable cause to sell because there's no real indication at the time that that would have been the actual top, right? There was just an indication there was resistance there. So, I think you'd be really hard pressed to find something that an actual analyst who actually knows what's going on with the market, who actually knows what TA is and isn't just looking at a candle, oh, it's bearish, therefore the market's bearish, right? If you're looking through these charts, I think you'll find a very hard time finding any real TA structure or formation that holds up under scrutiny that marked the top in March 2024. So I'm not saying that the top wasn't in March 2024. I still think it's unlikely because I'm macro bullish, of course. I'm just saying that if that was the top, we can only really kick ourselves so much because nothing really said it was at the time. And this is what I'm going into right now. The reason why I didn't get the hell out of the market as soon as we started dropping is because there was no evidence for that being the top. And therefore, since there was no evidence that was the top, the evidence that was the top would only come from support breakdowns and structural breakdowns. Unlike in the last cycle where we could look at November and say, oh, the 4-year cycle says the top is here, therefore the top is here. In this cycle, we can't say, oh, this thing that doesn't exist says the top was here, therefore the top is here. We can only say, oh, the support's broken, therefore that was the top, right? That's why I'm focused more on support rather than resistance right now. And right now, we haven't broken that support yet. So we're going to keep you updated. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the content. I hope you enjoyed the video today. Sorry, I've got a sore throat, as you can probably tell. I don't know if I've said that. I probably have. Losing my mind here. I need to take a bloody Nurofen. But thank you for watching. Check out the Bingx and Bitunix exchanges. The 15% trading fee discount is down below with my referral links. We've also got the Crypto Academy, Become a Trader 10-unit course, teaching you how to trade. It's on sale right now. So if you want to get access to that sale, discounted price for a limited time, you can do so. Check out the information on the website. I'll mention a couple more things. One of them is the VIP group on Telegram. Okay, we trade altcoins 4 to 5 times a week. Most likely 4 times a week, with a 78.39% win rate over the course of 2 years of trading results. So if you want to access my trading signals that I post with a 78% win rate, check them out. Also getting a group chat there with that membership included. And the last thing I'll mention is my second channel, my podcast, JS Quinn. Take a look at those titles there if you're interested in any of those topics. Go ahead and give them a watch. And like, subscribe, all that stuff. It really helps me out, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you guys tomorrow.